So how many medications were you on?
Whew. A lot. I'm still on a lot. I want to say the most medications I remember taking was at least 27 pills a day.
Welcome to Healthier Me, a show that highlights the health journey of everyday individuals in Saginaw who have chosen to take the steps to be well. Today I'm being joined by Jase Starnes. Coming from a family of 10 children, Jase's upbringing was not your typical home life. At a young age, she entered the foster care system, and that's where her body took on a series of health issues. From being underweight to drinking nutritional shakes and being on mental health medications since she was 9. Jase's health transitioned to being overweight, reaching almost 500 pounds. After undergoing a health operation in 2023, she has lost over 220 pounds and is on a journey to keep it off. Thank you so much, Jase, for joining me today. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
That is awesome. First off, I don't even know where to begin, but I just want to say kudos to you and congratulations on your transformation. How do you feel now?
I feel great. I feel awesome. Yeah.
That's good. So before we really get into the questions, right, I have to ask you, what early memory do you have where you can identify that something was maybe wrong with your health, where you were starting to have issues with your health?
I would say around 10, maybe 10, 11. I noticed that I wasn't the size of normal children. I would get picked on. So I was like, something's not right. I would bruise easily. I wouldn't eat. I wouldn't find food appealing. I just wouldn't eat at all. So I became underweight very fast.
And that was around the age of 10.
Yeah.
Wow. And so you were in the foster care system. Was that around that time that you began to notice those signs?
Right before.
Right before. And so did you bring that up to someone? Because I don't know if I should ask, but where was your parent at that point?
Her rights were terminated at that time. And then when I went into the foster care system, I ended up going to a doctor, and they were like, she's severely underweight and malnourished, so I had to drink Ensure and things like that to play catch up. Yeah.
Wow. So talk about that for a moment, though, because you come from a family of 9 other siblings, correct?
Yes.
So was that an issue among all of your siblings?
No, it was just me. I just didn't find food fascinating or appealing or even delicious. I just didn't eat.
Wow, that's interesting. I mean, because most kids just like junk food.
Yeah.
I can't keep my daughter off some junk food.
I have a baby picture, and me and my 2 younger sisters, they're bigger than me in both pictures. And they would think that I was the baby, but I'm the oldest girl besides my oldest sister, who was an adult at the time. And yeah, they look way older than I do. Wow. Even to this day, height, size, everything.
Wow. And so I know you said you went to the doctor and they determined you were underweight. So what was the diagnosis? I mean, beyond the shakes, was there something where they're like, hey, let's get her into some therapy? Maybe she's just not eating,
There was a lot of therapy. I had a therapist named Miss Penny, and she would ask me questions like, why don't you like food? And I didn't know why. I just didn't find food appealing.
And that was between being young, so maybe 3 or whatever, up into 10, you just did not like food.
No, I wouldn't eat.
And no one, parent, guardian, nothing.
Because there's times where I would just sit there and eat cheese, and that would be it. Wow. Yeah, just cheese.
Wow, that is so crazy to me. So you go into the foster care system at 10, and so what's happening at this moment? Because I know you were there for quite some time.
Yeah.
So talk about that.
So living with my mom before we got taken away, we were only 6 of us at the time. The first 4 were living with my grandparents, and so we got taken away, and we were living in Flint at the time. And so we all got separated except for me and my youngest sister, the baby, and we went together to a home, and the rest went their separate ways. So,
Oh, that had to be tough.
yeah.
Are you guys, I mean, I know I'm kind of jumping ahead, but have you guys reconnected?
Yes.
Okay.
So I have 4 sisters, 6 brothers, and out of the 10 of us, we all pretty much talk now. But there were times in years past where we wouldn't even speak to each other. Like, we would be angry at each other, and we would go months and years without speaking.
Do you think possibly just kind of like your upbringing, do you think that maybe had an effect onto why you didn't eat?
Probably. Then again, I don't know, because, like, my younger sisters, they ate all the time, and I would just sit there and watch them. So
That is so, yeah, I like food, so I'm always just like, wow, this is fascinating. So I know you said it was more of a birth issue, right? Or
Yeah.
it was at birth that you were having some health conditions. Do you want to talk about that?
I was born, I don't know how early I was born, but I was underweight when I was born. I had to get blood transfusions and everything when I was born. So I guess it was started off there.
Was this a certain condition that you had?
No.
No.
Nope.
No condition.
No condition.
Just okay. That is interesting. So I know that throughout your health journey, it has involved some mental health things.
Yes.
So talk about your mental health, your diagnosis. At what age did you realize there were some mental health issues?
I didn't really realize them, but when I first went into foster care, even before then, I had imaginary friends. And so adults would be like, oh, she's a kid. They're her imaginary friends. But as I got older, like 10, 11, 12, they never went away. And so it became something more serious. Like, I would be afraid of these people that I'm seeing, and I would have like different reactions to what I'm seeing and hearing. So I got evaluated, and I got diagnosed with schizoaffective disorder, bipolar type.
Explain that to me. Explain that to the people who are listening, because I don't know what that means.
I'm not quite sure what it means.
Okay.
I just know that there are times where I'm stable and I don't hear or see anything. I'm stable on my medications. And then there are times where even on my medications, I start hallucinate, see things, hear things, even smell things that aren't there. And it took a toll on me for a while. Dealing with them, I didn't want to live because I didn't want to wake up and see things that other people couldn't see. So I would find that always confusing, like, why can't I see them and you can't? So
you said you were seeing things and no one else was seeing them.
Yeah.
And you said this happened from childhood up until about 10, 11, 12?
Yeah.
Okay. And then at that point, you're in foster care. So did your foster parents say, okay, let's go get you evaluated?
Yeah, they talked to, I had a DHS worker, her name was Miss Brown, and my foster parents told her, and she's like, well, maybe we need to get her checked out because this isn't normal behavior. And it would seem as I was talking to the wall or inanimate objects, but I was actually talking to people that they just couldn't see. So.
Okay, this is what I want to ask you. With schizophrenia, I know that sometimes it can be genetic. So was that something that you've been able to find out in your family if anyone else has it? Is there a history of it?
I'm not sure.
No. Okay.
Yeah, there's too many people in my family. And my family's not like the greatest. I mean, they're great people, but I would put us as more dysfunctional than anything. It's a lot of trauma. There's a lot of not talking to one another.
So who's around you at this point? I mean, because I'm thinking about like a village or just having somebody else who has gone through what you've experienced Have you been able to connect with anyone who has some of the complications that you've had as far as mental health?
Um, Not really. Like, I have probably one person, and I met her at Health Source, and we just stayed in contact. Her name is Lauren, and we just stayed in contact.
So talk about the fact that you've had to be on medication with the mental health and then also with under eating. So how many medications were you on?
Whew. A lot. I'm still on a lot. I want to say the most medications I remember taking was at least 27 pills a day, including vitamins, antipsychotics, everything from supplements to everything. So I want to say the most was 27 pills a day.
And was that even as a kid?
As a kid, I remember not wanting to take them. So yeah.
That's a lot. I just even remember being a kid, and when you're watching like the commercials and you see a medication on there and they're like, oh, and it has all of these side effects. I could only imagine what was happening in your body.
And that's the crazy thing. Like, I've been on medication for so long now. Medications don't even bother me if I get taken off one and put on a new one. They don't really bother me anymore.
Mm-hmm. But how can you even tell that anything is working when you're on so many? How would I'm not a physician, right? I'm not a doctor, but how would they even know, like, this is working, this isn't working, the dosage?
So, nowadays with medications, sometimes they do blood work to check your levels. So there was a medication I was on called lithium, and you have to get your blood work checked with that regularly to make sure that your levels are therapeutic. Mm-hmm. And some medications don't require blood work at all. They manage your symptoms. So if your symptoms are being managed, then they don't change the dose. But if your symptoms become unmanageable, they either increase the dose or try a different medication.
Wow.
Yeah.
I want to take a minute to look at this photo of you. Now, is this around the time? This is you as a kid. How old were you at that point?
14, maybe.
So this is at a point where you know that you've had issues with under eating. You've been on medication.
Yeah.
Talk about that little girl right there.
Whew, okay. During that time in my life, I would say that I had some fun times. I lived with my granddad's, I don't know if that was his second wife or even if they were married, but that was in Chicago. Mm-hmm. And I lived there for a time. And that was a good time. Like, that's my cousin and my god cousin, and we did everything together, from dressing alike to playing games, going to school. It was just one of the greatest times ever.
And so what changed? Because now you're back in Saginaw.
Yes, I'm back in Michigan.
That's Chicago.
Yes.
What
it was a lot to do with my mental health. Like, she couldn't handle me. I couldn't handle me. And so I felt like the best thing for me to do was to leave. So,
you made that decision?
Yes.
As a child?
Yes.
At 14?
Yes.
Wow. That's a huge decision.
It was.
So where did you go?
I came back to Michigan. Mm-hmm. And so when you're in between two counties or two states, you're considered what's called a cofer when you're from one county but live in another. And so my DHS worker in Illinois asked me, well, where do you want to go? If you don't want to live here, where do you want to go? I hate the city. Big city, large groups of crowds. I just hated it. It didn't do me any good because I have horrible anxiety when it comes to people. Mm. So back to Michigan I came, where it's less populated.
Yeah. So now coming back, is it just finding a new foster care home?
Yeah.
And so you leave your granddad, right? He was in Chicago.
I don't know if that was my grandpa's second wife.
Okay. So you leave that family, and then now you're just in another family. Yep. And so how are they balancing your mental health and the medications? Like, what was happening between these homes?
So it's times where I'm on medication or steroids for like 6 months at a time without even seeing a doctor. And they give me these refills and they're like, well, I know next time I'm going to see you, you might leave this home. So they give me so many refills and it's like now I'm stuck on this medication and the doctor doesn't know anything because I'm in a different county or a different residence and they don't have any background. So now I'm just stuck taking steroids and antipsychotics. So, yeah.
I am just blown away. And so, does these medications affect your health? Affect your weight at this point?
Yes.
Are they affecting your weight? Okay.
By the time I was 16, I was 362 pounds.
So that's a big difference between being underweight at 9, 10 years
Yes.
old, and now you're 6 years later, now you're overweight.
Yep.
Doctors, no one saying anything. I mean, like,
No. It got to the point to where when I turned 17, I was at Whaley's and I had a really good doctor there, at Mott Children's Health Clinic, and he's like, you're severely obese. We recommend you losing weight and going on a diet. And I'm like, okay. And so it got to the point to where I'm in this group of other teenagers who are obese, and we're exercising in the children's clinic at Mott's Children's Center. They have a weight loss program there for overweight kids. Mm-hmm. And you would go there and you would spend 20 minutes on the elliptical and then 20 minutes on another machine. And then you did 20 minutes of resting or stretching or things like that. And every week you got weighed in. Yeah.
How was that?
I hated it.
I could imagine.
It was very embarrassing because I had to do that every day after school. Couldn't go home. Well, I wasn't going home. I was going to a residential, but I didn't want to go there. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't want to go work out. I want to go hang with my friends. I want to do what normal kids do.
And so you're in this clinic just working out, but I guess in my mind, I'm saying, like, what about, like, having a conversation, trying to see about your emotional well-being?
It was none of that.
And I feel like that's where, in most conversations that I've been having on this show and just with people on the outside talking about weight, I feel like it's this internal thing.
Yeah.
And so internally, what were you experiencing? I mean, I could only imagine that it was traumatic, right? Like going from house to house, you had to be dealing with a lot as a child, like just internally. Do you think that affected what you were eating? Like, okay, I want to eat. Was it a coping situation at this point?
At this point, yes, because it would go, like me and my younger sister, the youngest, we were in this home and they had a pond. And it was a bunch of kids there. But me and my sister in particular, we were the only two foster kids there. Mm-hmm. And one day they had tacos. They had Taco Tuesday. And they were just slamming tacos back to back, Mexican food, Mexican rice. And me and my sister sitting at this table eating a peanut butter sandwich, a half a peanut butter sandwich. And then we had to go to bed. While their family is at the table having a feast of tacos and rice and everything else. So.
And this is your foster care home?
Yes.
Wow.
And so it got to the point where going from home to home, I would hoard food, hide food, because like I didn't know, like, okay, maybe if I hide this food, I'll have something to eat later. So.
Wow. So was your sister doing the same thing, kind of like hoarding and hiding?
Not necessarily, because she would get sick very often from eating too much, and come to find out she was a type 1 diabetic. So she never really could overeat or indulge because she would get sick. So, but by that time, her dad had came to get her and my other sister because they share the same dad. And so by that time, they're back in Chicago with their dad, and it's just me in Michigan. So.
Wow. Wow. It just seems like a lot of loss.
Yeah.
You know, during that time period. And I can't even imagine. I can't imagine that. Wow. So 10 to 6 underweight to now being almost 300 pounds. you have a family who only gives you a peanut butter sandwich.
Yeah.
And you're just trying to figure out when you're going to have a good meal the next time.
Right.
So after that, because you aged out of foster care,
Yes.
right? What happens now after you're out of foster care?
I ended up going to get my own apartment because by the time I was 18, 19, I was in a place called Vista Maria. And so that's in somewhere in Dearborn, and it's a residential facility. And I aged out of there, and I go to court, and they're like, you can either go to adult foster care or you can go to independent living. And at that time, my DHS worker said, independent living will do you justice. So I went to a place called Nina's Place. It's no longer up and running, but they supplied you with your own apartment, had your own room. The only requirement was for you to either be working or going to school, and I was going to school at the time. I was 17 or 18. And I want to say I was about 412 at that time. And I had to be 18 because I dropped out of high school. And it was a lot to do with my mental health, basically. I would test out of classes, test out of courses, and I took a test, and they were like, you cheated. I'm like, how did I cheat? No one has ever gotten the score before, so there's some way you're cheating. Like, there's no possible way. And so that put me in a more horrible mood even then, so I just dropped out.
Wow. So you drop out of school, you're independent living now at this point, and now you're up to 400 pounds.
Yes.
Okay. So at what point do you decide to undergo this operation? What's this time period now?
So I was 18, and so 23. So I'm in Saginaw at this time, and I have this awesome doctor. He was my doctor since 2017 in Saginaw, maybe 2016, and his name was Michael Bush, and he was the best doctor ever.
Okay.
And he's like, well, I recommend you getting weight loss surgery. He mentioned it once, and I just ignored it. And then he brought it up again, and I ignored it again. And it got to the point to where my brother comes to visit me, and I get in his Jeep, but I can't put the seatbelt on because I was too big for it. So by that time, I'm like, well, something has to change. And I can't lose weight on my own, and I'm trying to, and I lose 10 pounds here, gain 20 pounds back. And so I told my doctor, I'm like, well, I'm ready. And he's like, okay, I'll set you up. So.
Wow, okay. I know, like, some people they opt for the surgery, and I feel like the day and age that we live in, you can go on TikTok and you see people sitting there recording themselves on the surgery table.
Right.
But it sounds like you did not want the surgery.
No.
And why didn't you want it?
I don't know. I just felt like I wasn't upset about my weight. I wasn't self-conscious or anything. Like, I'd wear leggings, ripped t-shirts, show off skin. But it got to the point where it became embarrassing. Like, I had a seizure, and firefighters had to help me get out the house on a stretcher because regular ambulance couldn't do it with just two of them. So I'm like, okay, this is embarrassing. Something has to change. Because at first I'm thinking, okay, I can live my life this size. I don't care. I'm just big. I don't have diabetes. I don't have high blood pressure, any health-related weight issues such as that. So I'm like, okay, I can go live my life like this. But then things just became embarrassing. I went to Michigan Adventures, couldn't get on the roller coasters. They had a weight limit. So I'm like, yeah, something has to change.
So it sounded like more of quality of life. You wasn't able to enjoy the things that you wanted to do.
Right.
And that's why you decided to do it.
Yeah.
So I know, like you were talking about being in Flint, they had you a part of a weight loss program, working out. Were you still keeping up that method of fitness as far as working out throughout your 10 years? No. Okay. And what about food? Like, what was the food situation now? Were you cooking your own meals? Were you learning how to, maybe, I don't know, eat healthy or whatever?
I was learning how to eat healthy. Like, I was never really a unhealthy eater. Like, but it was the fact that I would hoard the food and I would eat it to become like full, so I wouldn't have to eat the next meal, or I would be satisfied and eat at the next meal and don't have to worry about being hungry. And then when I got out of those predicaments, it was never the fried chicken or fried pork. I didn't eat pork at the time either, so it was more so of like eating one meal a day, but your body is starving. So now whenever you eat, it just yeah.
But yeah. Okay. Wow. Okay. So you're hoarding food. Are you in therapy at this point? Because I guess in my mind, I'm saying if you're hoarding it, of course it's coming from somewhere traumatic, right? Even like when we watch the show Hoarders, every time you hear or you watch that show, it's like the person went through something, they went through a loss. So for you, were you working through that?
I was. I was in therapy and I worked a lot on that actually, to the point to where when I saw food, well, before I would see food, and my first instinct was, how much of this can I literally, I don't know, like take, and it'll stay safe or stay fresh for later. And then got to the point where in therapy, I was able to look at food and be like, I can eat this because I know I'm going to have something later. So it got to the point where don't take and hide it to where I can cook, I can eat now, or I can eat the meal that's provided because I know that later I'm going to be able to eat.
That sounds like a big internal change.
It was.
Yeah. So talk about your mindset, like.
My mindset was all over the place because when I would see food in my head, I'm having an argument with myself. So like I'm going to therapy, and then when I'm eating, I'm like, eat slow. I don't have to scarf my food down. So in my head, I'm thinking like, I'm not gonna have this for later. And then another part of me was like, you're not in those predicaments anymore. You're gonna have food later. So just slow down. Throw it away if you don't finish it. Don't overstuff yourself. And that's a lot of things that I did was overstuff myself because I knew I wouldn't have it for later. So now in my head, it's like a internal fight because I'm like, you have to stop. You're full. Stop eating. So
I did an interview with a woman and she called it food static. And she was like, I was like, okay, what is that? And she kept saying that it was this dialogue that's happening in your head, and it's how much do I eat? Or I mean, for you, it sounds like it was almost two voices going back and forth.
Yeah.
Oh, that is so fascinating. But it sounds like you overcame it.
Yes.
Okay. So you have the surgery, and now looking at this photo of you, congratulations.
Thank you.
Talk about these two individuals.
So the one on the left, I want to say I was 460 on that picture. And the one on the right, I was 280. And the one when I was 260, I still had that mentality of I am a boss. Like, weight has nothing on me. I'm going to wear what I want to wear, do what I want to do. No one can tell me anything. And then the one on the right was like, I did this. It was more of a, I'm not as arrogant with it because I felt like the surgery humbled me in a way because I feel like, yeah, you're big and all, but like, what's the cost of it, you know? So a part of me was like, don't get the surgery. Only unwilling, unmotivated people get it. So that was my first initial thought of the weight loss surgery. Like, it's cheating.
Yeah.
Always I was like, a cheat. But then I realized it's not a cheat. It's just a change of lifestyle. You have to change your complete way of living. So it humbled me in a way.
I like the way you just summed that up. I'll be honest, and this is probably mean as well, but I feel like that too. Like, oh, I'm cheating. And I'll just even go outside of weight loss, like even like body enhancements. You know, we see a lot of people with BBLs or things like that. And I'm like, oh, they're cheating, you know. But it's like, no, you're doing it for you. And if whatever it is for you, that is your thing. But I like the way that you've changed your mindset around it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I feel like a lot of people, I even have that way of thinking. Like, if you get the weight loss surgery, you can still eat what you want to eat. But, like, you're going to gain the weight back or you're just cheating. Like, you're going to lose a lot of weight and now you didn't do anything to work for it. But, like, in reality, like, when you get the weight loss surgery, you can't eat what you want to eat. Like, you can only eat so much before it comes up.
Yeah.
And then when it comes up, you feel horrible because you can't stop gagging. You can't stop throwing up. Now you feel horrible. And so when you don't change that way of living, you're sick. So it's like you get the surgery, but now you're forced to eat healthy. You're forced to cut off the carbonated drinks and the greasy foods. And it's a lot.
Yeah.
Like, to me, like, a part of me regrets the surgery. Like, maybe I should have worked out harder or something like that. But then a part of me is like, you wouldn't have gotten as far as you would have gotten because you would have relapsed into old eating habits, no eating patterns. And so, yeah.
And I know it was mentioned or about your medication. Did that play an effect with the weight gain?
Yes.
Okay. So have you been able to dial in on which medications or take them out of your...
I'm no longer on any of those medications. Okay. I have an awesome psychiatrist. He monitors my weight closely as well. And his thing is, if he see me gaining weight, he's like, well, do you really need to be on this medication? Is this medication benefiting you? And if so, like, can we lower the dosage and things like that?
So how many, if I can ask, I know you said at one point it was up to 27.
Yeah.
How many are you on now? Like, has that decreased because of the surgery?
No.
Okay.
A lot of my medications weren't health related, like high blood pressure, diabetes, or anything like that. A lot of them were more so related to like immunotherapy, allergies, epilepsy, and things like that. So like in total, from 27 to 30 pills, I think I'm taking 16 now. So it's decreased a lot, like by half, maybe. But a lot of them I'm still on. Yeah. So,
I mean, but you decreased a lot, so yeah. that is really great and such a positive. So talk about what does a typical day now looks like for you? Like, is it involving fitness and working out? What does that look like?
So a typical day for me involves waking up around 5 or 6 in the morning. So a lot of people might find that gross, that I don't take a shower before I work out, because after I work out, I'm going to take a shower. So it's like, they're like, what? I'm like, yeah. So like in my apartment on the third floor, we have a little workout area. And so I wake up every morning and go up there and work out, whether it's on the treadmill, the bicycle, lifting weights and things like that. I do that for an hour, 45 minutes. And then after that, I'll do my morning routine of taking a shower, eating breakfast, taking my medication, and then repeat the cycle that night.
Nice. Cool. That is so awesome. Like, congratulations on that. That is awesome. And so, now you're in school, you're a student, you're at Delta. So kudos. How long have you been at Delta?
So I started off at Delta in 2018, and my original major was dental hygiene. And I think I made it all the way up to right before clinicals when I had to drop out because of my epilepsy wasn't controlled. Okay. And so I'm like, I can't go that route. And so by then, so I'm going to say so about 2 or 3 years into Delta, I figured I couldn't become a dental hygienist. And so I became stagnant and did nothing, basically. And I decided, I want to go back to school. Yeah. So now I'm going for early childhood education. So.
Wow. So why did you choose that field?
So I feel like I can offer a lot to young children. And it's not even necessarily that, like, my goal is to open up an autism center for young children, and maybe behavioral, developmentally, cognitively delayed as well, because I feel like I was that child who didn't have anyone with behavioral problems, or kids with autism who have behavioral problems. And they just want to learn. They want to be around other people. Mm-hmm. And I feel like my goal is to open up a facility to where they can come to this facility, they can learn and manage their behavior and their outbursts while they're learning, so they don't have to feel like they're being contained into 4 walls, per se.
Yeah, that is so great. Wow. Your story just, it's a lot.
It is.
But you sound like you're just in an amazing space right now.
I am.
And I love that for you. So what has been like your biggest takeaways, or what do you think the moment was teaching you, like this whole journey? What have you learned?
Now that's a hard question because I learned a lot. I learned that there's someone always going through worse things than you are going through, and I feel like I have a brother. We were like very close, and he lived in Bay City for the longest, and we didn't speak until he found me in 2015 when I moved to Saginaw, and then we were like very close, and I was in and out of the mental hospital for suicide and things like that. And it got to the point to where my brother was like, I'm tired of you doing this. If you're going to kill yourself, then go ahead. And you're just dragging everyone along with you down. And I got upset when he said that because, like, I didn't see where he was coming from. And so
how can you see what he's coming from?
Exactly. And he told me this, like, 2 days after I got out the mental hospital. And so I was like, you know what? I just need my space from you. So it was like 6 months go by. We didn't speak. And so one day I called him. He didn't answer. And then I realized I was blocked on a lot of social media platforms from him, except for Instagram. So I messaged him on Instagram, and we were just talking. And he called me, and he was like, well, I just wanted the best for you. I wanted to see, like, where you were going when you wanted to do these things. Like it's like me helping someone tirelessly who doesn't want to help themselves. And so I thought about that for the longest, and it's like he's always been in my corner, and he's like, he just wants the best for me. And so I learned that, like, I never saw my light at the end of the tunnel, but he saw my light. And I'm like, other people can see the light in you. You just have to find out when will you be able to see your own light.
Oh, this makes me want to cry. Like, that is so good.
So now we talk now, but like, he called it empathy fatigue. Like, you give out so much empathy to the point where you can't give out anymore. So like, you have to realize, like, you have to grow from that, basically. And so now I tell people, like, you might not see your light at the end of the tunnel, but make that turn. There's a light there. You haven't seen it because you haven't made that turn yet. There's a light. So
I feel like that's the word for, like, ending this. But oh my God, like, do you want to repeat that to the people that's listening? Like, is that the advice that you would give them? Is there any more advice that you would give anyone out there who maybe is struggling with their weight, looking to get it off, or what advice would you give them?
Like I told everyone else the same thing. I feel like everyone is stuck in that dark tunnel. And people are like, well, there's no light at the end of my tunnel. I can't see. And I tell my friends this all the time. I tell my friend Alexis this. She's like, I want to give up. There's no good for me. And I'm like, turn. Make that turn. Because at the end of the tunnel, there is a light. You going through a tunnel, it's dark. Trains go through tunnels. There's curves in the tunnel. As soon as you make that curve or that turn, you're going to see the end. There's a light there waiting for you. Waiting for everyone. You just have to turn. I tell that to everyone.
Oh my gosh. Look, I just want to clap. Like, where's the studio audience? No, oh my gosh. Thank you so much. That was beautiful. Make the turn. Make the turn. There is a light. If you're struggling with weight, with mental health issues, find a support group, find a village. It sounds like you have a village.
I do.
Your family now, your team of professionals. So kudos to them. Kudos to you for making that turn. I am proud of you, even though, like, this is our first time meeting. Yeah. I am proud, and I can't wait to see what you accomplish in the future. Thank you so much.